Matadors, I hope you had a great first day of school and things went well as we rolled out our distance learning or learning all the time. I'm here to talk a little bit more about student guidelines. Yesterday, we introduced some new guidelines, relearning how to learn during distance learning. And today I'm going to review a few more things. So just to recap, yesterday, I sent a video about relearning how to plan. And in case you hadn't had a chance to look at that, here were the main points. First, check your school loop in Google Classroom by 8:30 a.m. on Monday so that you know what's coming up for the week. Our teachers are committing to posting things on Monday so that you can plan out your week. And since every day is going to look a little bit different, that's going to be important for you to log in early on Monday. That being said, I would recommend that you get in the habit of getting up every morning and checking first thing so that you don't miss anything. The other thing that you should know is to check your Loop Mail and your Gmail daily. And I know email is not your most preferred method, but that is the best way for us to get a hold of you. So check that every day so you don't miss things. If you feel like your Gmail is getting filled with a lot of spam from all of the announcements from your Google Classrooms, you can change that in your settings, and so it'll streamline your mail a little more. So check that out. Use your Google Calendar to keep track of appointments. Many of the things that your teachers assign in Google Classroom will populate automatically to your Google Calendar, but you may want to add some other things so that you don't forget teacher office hours or synchronous classes that you want to make sure to attend. Each day you're going to have to map things out, and like I said before, it's going to look a little different every day. We don't have bells signaling the change from class to class, so you're going to have to take some time to really organize and schedule out what your days are going to look like. My recommendation would be starting with those synchronous classes and the office hours and then building in time around them to get work done, to make sure that you're eating breakfast and lunch, and to also have some time for breaks and free time in your day. So map that out. Find a study buddy. This is really helpful. Find a study buddy in each of your classes that you can connect with to make sure that you're not missing anything and to hold each other accountable. That way, if there's a synchronous class happening and you've forgotten because time is just traveling kind of weird right now, your buddy can text you and let you know to pop into the meeting so you don't miss anything. And the last tip was to get dressed and establish a workspace for yourself that will be easy for you to be able to utilize throughout the day and pay attention and track what's going on. I know that in our households, we have a lot of people doing a lot of different things right now, and that's not always really easy. But if you can carve out a small space for yourself to be able to work in, that would be ideal. So let's talk about today's topic, which is relearning how to be a student. Yes, during distance learning, we're changing the way we engage as students, and we need to adjust to be present, engaged learners in a virtual setting. So I'm going to talk about a few things that I recommend that you do as you relearn how to be a student in this setting. The first tip is to attend all synchronous classes that you can. Things might come up for you, and so if it's not possible, don't stress out. Your teachers are going to record and post those classes so that you have access to them. But if you can go, really try to make that a priority, even if they're early in the morning. That class time will give you face-to-face time with your teacher and your classmates. It'll help you feel connected, and it'll make sure that you have a chance to ask questions live and in person. The next tip is to be a good virtual learner. And so just like we have norms in the classroom around raising our hands and not talking over each other and perhaps even asking permission to use the restroom, you're going to have some norms in your virtual classrooms as well. Some of these will be set by your teacher, but here are a few tips that I would recommend. Turn off your microphone when you are not talking so that there's no background noise making it hard for other people to listen and pay attention. Keep your camera on when you can. I realize that with a lot of people working in a small space, you may have to occasionally turn off your camera, but keep it on when you can so you can show that you're engaged and really interact with your class. There's a hand raising feature on Zoom. Use it. If you have a question, raise your hand so that you can get called on and have a little airspace. And the next thing is to put questions in the chat box for your teacher. While the teacher might not be able to monitor all of the questions live while he or she is talking during the class period, they will circle back to those questions, and it's a great place to make sure that they don't get lost. Okay, so there's some pitfalls that you should probably avoid if you want to be a good virtual learner. Let's review those. Multitasking while in a synchronous class. It's so easy to have lots of tabs open on your browser. You can see how many are open on mine. And it can be very tempting to flip back and forth between those tabs as you are in a synchronous class. Try to avoid doing that. We know that the human brain is not really capable of multitasking very effectively. And if you're flipping back and forth, you might be missing some essential instruction that you need to be able to complete tasks. Try to avoid side chatting with friends while instruction is happening. In the chat feature, you can chat with different classmates in your class, and sometimes that can be a great way to make sure you didn't miss something or check in to ask a question. But try to avoid doing that in lieu of paying attention to what's happening in the space. It's kind of like talking during class. Try to avoid leaving your device. So putting on your pause screen and then walking away from your device, not only could that be embarrassing if you get put in a breakout group and you're not actually there, but it's a little disrespectful of the space. So try to avoid doing that. Of course, we know that you may have to walk away at times, and that happens, but try to avoid that as much as possible. There are images that you can use for your away screen, and I want to really caution you around your choices for those images. Pick a professional image that represents you, actually who you are, that has your face on it, or something that is very appropriate and will not be misunderstood or offensive to any of your classmates. Please take this really seriously as you're considering what that looks like. These classroom spaces are now our professional spaces. And so making sure that your away screen is a professional and school appropriate image is really important to you being a positive member of your learning environment. And the last thing is avoid wearing distracting clothing. It can be very tempting to wear a weird hat or some funny clothes, and we have some weird combinations happening in our households of things that we are wearing around our house as we work and learn from home. But try to get dressed in clothing that would be appropriate to be on screen with, so that you are not distracting your classmates. Okay, tip number 4 is about remembering our school guidelines for academic integrity. And these really haven't changed in a virtual learning environment. Keep in mind, your teachers are providing feedback on your work and learning. And so unless you're being directed to work collaboratively, turn in your own work that represents what you know. The teachers want to be able to give you feedback on what you are learning and mastering within their class. And if you are copying or engaging in unethical behavior, they're not going to be able to give you the appropriate feedback to advance your learning. Under our new grading guidelines, there's really no reason why you should be copying or cheating. We're issuing credit or no credit based on your engagement and effort, and we really want to know what you are learning and absorbing from the content and curriculum so that we can provide you feedback and keep you learning as we go through this 4th quarter. So please keep in mind all of our guidelines for academic integrity and be mindful of how we're adhering to those during a virtual environment. And the last tip here is around communication guidelines. And again, these haven't changed either. If you have questions, start with your teacher. They're the best people to answer those questions that you might have, whether it's about how to find something on their website or an assignment that you were unsure about. Reach out to your teacher first. If you need extra help, please reach out to your counselors or administration. We're happy to help you out and make sure that we can navigate these spaces successfully. So those are my tips today for being a successful learner and student in an online virtual environment. It does look a little bit different, but if we're all being mindful of our roles as students and teachers, even though we're doing it a little differently, I think that we can do this really well. And so thanks for listening again today. And I hope you had a great day, and go Mats!